Hello there and welcome to the Morning Post, the Racing Post show, sponsored by William Hill. Now you'll notice I'm not Dave Orton and I'm not Paul Keeley. I am Maddie Plale and I'm your host for today's show. I'm joined by two excellent guests in the studio. Great to be with Johnny Dineen, Robbie Wilders, and we've also got Johnny Simpson from William Hill joining us on the line as well. Really looking forward to this morning's show, keeping you up to date with all the market movers and the opinions of our experts. It's going to be a great show. We've got lots coming up. First up, though, Johnny, you got in yesterday. How's your last couple of days been? Yeah, good.
Look, I was here yesterday morning. I came over early. I ran here earlier than late. So I was watching snooker last night. That was what I was spending most of the night doing anyway, watching. And then I fell asleep before it finished. But I didn't realise that the outsider won the snooker, but he did anyway until this morning. But no, I'd rather be here, as I said, prepared and early than rushing in at the last minute kind of stuff, you know.
Any winners in the office yesterday?
No, a bad start. Finished up rectifying it somewhat, but no, I lost. Started off bad in Ace and never recovered, but I didn't have a real bad day in the end, so I was happy. OK, of course, Kempton and Warwick, the two big meetings coming up later today. Robbie, we know if you back a winner in the office, though, you do ride the office chair.
Yeah, that is a trademark of mine. I don't know, it just sort of adds to it a little bit. I can see that you enjoy it as well. So
it does make me laugh. It's quite a unique celebration. How's it been going?
Been going pretty well. Yeah, been quite a week on the punting front really, but I mean, I'm more of a Saturday man, as you know. So
yeah, I was saying that to Johnny. Often people give January a bad rep for being a quiet month, but these are really big fields, competitive races today. Lots of punters wanting to get stuck in, I guess.
Yes, sorry, yeah, no, there's nothing wrong with the racing today. I think the racing today is excellent, to be honest. It is. Even the small fields are tricky and competitive, and there are some big fields too. Look, I'd say there's almost anything for everyone today, as far as I can see, anyway.
We'll certainly try and find you a couple of winners. Then coming up on the show, we have the Racing Post paper roundup. We will get all the Saturday previews for you with all of the market movers. We'll join David Jennings in Ireland. Johnny's good up in the Ante-post for the latest news there. The Lawlers of Naas. There was a shock in that race yesterday. And it's Cheltenham NRMB bet for William Hill, who have been the big Ante-post movers and shakers from the firm. Sunday previews we're going to be looking at to get you covered across the whole weekend. Ante-post bets, and then finally the weekend naps to finish us off. First up though, if you are going to be betting this weekend, you might be interested in our free bets offer. Take a look at this.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing Race Cards Redefined. 3 brand new and unique race cards tailored for your needs. Our new and improved standard race card is the punter's favourite and is everything you need to make your selection. Get the maximum amount of information in the palm of your hand with Expert View. Cover all areas and get all the same information as our newspaper. With Compact View, you can make a quick decision on who to back. View more runners and more odds on one race. Which race card will you choose?
And let's go over to our trader Johnny Simpson from William Hill this morning. Johnny, how are you?
Very well, thanks, Maddie. Looking forward to a couple of really decent cards and hopefully a few Cheltenham clues.
Yeah, indeed, and it's worth mentioning this card last year was particularly strong for the Racing Post team. Spotlight napped both the big winners of the Lanzarote and the Classic Chase, and there were some extraordinary statistics as well in terms of they picked the two big race winners. The RP verdict took 12 of the 14 winners across Kempton and Warwick's cards. 6 consecutive winners on ITV at odds of bigger than combined 37,000 to 1. And it was a 7-figure loss for William Hill. Just tell us a little bit about that. You'll be hoping for not a repeat of that today.
Yeah, it was a disaster to start 2023. 2 naps in the 2 big handicaps. Both went in with loads of small stake doubles. I Will Do It and West Balboa, but the 6 consecutive Racing Post naps on the ITV races compounded that, and we'll be looking to avoid a similar disaster to 12 months ago.
Fantastic. Hopefully we'll find some winners for you and talk you through all those all-important market moves. What's in today's paper? Well, let's take a look. And here we are. It's a super Saturday. Ryanair clues probably going to come our way in the Silviniaco Conti chase. You can see there in the bottom right. And also the Veterans final, of course, rescheduled from Sandown's card that we lost. It's jam-packed full of handicaps that we'll want to get our teeth stuck into. Keith Melrose, our chief analyst, has gone with the outside of Volcano in the classic chase. He thinks course form's very important. Melina Girl, the one in shot, of course, she's fancied by Pricewise, as well as a Rapper in the long distance chase, won last year by I Will Do It. OK, let's move on to it then. Without further ado, we'll go to our first race, which is the 207 at Kempton. It is the Coral Silviniaco Conti chase. And as I mentioned previously, Ryanair clues sure to be aplenty here. And the William Hill boost, I believe that's with Pic D'Orhy, Johnny.
It is, yeah. We're going to have another go at Pic D'Orhy. We boosted him against Shiskin, and obviously that turned into a bit of a disaster. He was handed that race, but we think he's beatable here. This is a far deeper contest than the two times he's won at Kempton before. So we're going to be going 7-2 for £50 from 5-2 for the duration of the show. So 7-2 Pic D'Orhy.
OK, interesting there. Banbridge, I think, was favourite for this when they were first listed. So he's drifted out a bit. Punter's keen to side with Pic D'Orhy. But, Johnny, you fancy the outside of the whole field? Yeah,
look, I think it's, the 5 runners here, I wouldn't be surprised if any one of the 5 of them won, to be honest. That's why I was going to go for maybe pick the rag of the field. Look, you can make a case for... You could oppose any of the 5. I think you could even make a case for backing any of the 5. Pic D'Orhy, is a great jumper, and this track suits him probably very well. I wonder would Banbridge mess him around for the lead? Maybe it's possible that he will. Edward Stone is going to be held up last or out the back anyway, I'd imagine, to get the distance and that. Like, you just don't know whether he'd probably stay, whether he'd get the trip or not. I wouldn't be so sure that he will. Maybe he will, but even if he does, the way he's going to be ridden, he's going to give spot 5, 6, 8 lengths to the field too. I don't like that kind of riding around Kempton. Banbridge is coming here. It's his first run of the season. Surely he's not going to be cherry ripe for this. I'd imagine that the Ryanair is going to be definitely long-term target. Like, he hasn't run since Aintree last year. It's a big ask for him to come out of novice company to win this race. Not long till May. Is a good solid horse, second to stage star at Cheltenham in the Turners, and second in the Paddy Power chase. But he's a beatable horse too. And I think Janadil, he was 9-10 to 1, whatever price he is here. He has respectable form. He wouldn't have been big prices in the Ryanairs that he contested. And I just think like Mullins wouldn't be sending him here unless he had given him some sort of a chance at the very least. And it's a race. Look, if you're at a wedding or something like that, and somebody you didn't see the race, somebody said to you, "Oh, that won the Silviana Conti," you wouldn't fall down. Which one of the 5 won? So for that reason, I'm going to pick Janadil for a few bob. Yeah.
Okay. Big stakes. Janadil, the outsider for Johnny, first up. Robbie, as I say, bit of movement in this market. First time Edwardstone's going to be handling this trip over fences anyway. I think the last time he ran over hurdles, it's been a while at Aintree over 2 mile 4 behind Tronador. How do you think he's going to fare over this distance?
I think he's got a very good chance of getting it. There's a lot of stayers in his pedigree. It certainly wasn't the trip that beat him over hurdles when he ran in that 2 mile 4 handicap hurdle a couple of years ago. I think he's worth a crack at it. I know he's 10. I'm always suspicious about backing.
He didn't go chasing until quite late, did he? So it's hard to know.
Yeah, he didn't do loads of racing in the early part of his career. But I mean, we know he's keeping his form very well. He gave John Bond a little bit of a race in the Tingle Creek last time. I think if you're going to try 2.5 miles, Kempton's a very good place to try it out. I think he's a pretty fair bet at 3-1, to be honest. I'm against Pic D'Orhy. I wasn't impressed with him at all really at Ascot on his comeback. I thought he had to work hard, and he probably should have done to beat Strawfan Jack, and that horse come out and got stuffed since. He won this easily last year, but that was a much worse running. Like, the horses he beat are all like veterans. They're all rated in the 140s, low 150s. This is a proper race. And I think Banbridge, like Johnny says, you'd have thought he's probably going to need it. He could end up being the best of these, but I'd be a bit worried about him needing the run. So I think Edwardstone is the most solid one. I think 3-1's pretty fair.
Would you back him for the Ryanair Festival?
Yeah, I've been umming and ahhing at that because
some judges have been pinning them up recently, I find.
Some judges have,
yeah.
Interesting. I don't know. I think he's floating around 12-1 for that. I mean, whoever wins this is going to be probably close to favourite for the Ryanair. Well, certainly second favourite behind Allaho. So it's going to be interesting. But I don't know. Again, like I know I'm talking about backing a 10-year-old now at Kempton, but a 10-year-old at Cheltenham in a championship race, I'll be a bit less sure. And that is obviously going to be more of a stamina test than Kempton will present. So I think this could be Edwardson's day, but not necessarily going forward down the line.
Yeah, and you can see on our screen there, co-favourites of 3, all of them, Edwardstone, Pick Dorhey, Banbridge, 11-4. Johnny, just back to you. The boost is on Pick Dorhey. He's always a horse that punters seem to get suckered in by, but what can you see happening in this market, and who's your selection?
I think he's really beatable here. I could see the money coming from Not Long Till May and Janadil, as Johnny has said. Just a note on the Peterborough Chase, which was abandoned. Edwardstone was around a 5-2 shot, and Janadil was only about a 4-1 shot. When that market went out, obviously it was voided and abandoned. But I think Janadil and Not Long Till May are too big a price in this contest.
Okay, so plenty wanting to take on the favourites. Remember, this is an interactive show, so let us know your views in the comments. And if you are getting involved on Twitter, use the hashtag #TheMorningPost. Let us know what you think, and we'll get some of your views as well. Let's move on to the other race at Kempton then, which is the 242. It is the Coral Lanzarote Handicap Hurdle, one of the most historic handicaps run over the course of the season. Always a big field. Last year it was incredibly testing with just the 4 or so finishes, won by West Balboa. This year it looks a really competitive heat once again. We've got great wood hurdle form coming into the equation here. Lots of horses stepping up in trip from that. And Robbie, in your analysis, you noted that this was a particular test last year. You don't think it's going to be the same this time around. Who do you think that's going to suit?
The ground is, it got pretty hard work at Kempton last year.
We should note, by the way, Kempton going pretty good as we speak.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there's been hardly any rain this week, as after what we saw last week, all the downpours. But it's going to be a different kind of race for sure. I'd be more interested in Nemean Lion if it was a bit softer. I think he's probably needed to step up in trip potentially for a while over jumps to see him to best effect. I mean, he placed in a pre-Chaudenay on Art Weekend, the staying race there. I think he's going to be interesting. I don't know. He's just been withdrawn on account of like quickish ground twice since the last couple of starts. So I'll be against him. I think Sonagino's interesting. Just worry he might have had a hard race at Aintree last time. He was really impressive there, but he can definitely give more over 2.5 miles. The one I went for at the start of the week was Good Look Charm for Anthony Honeyball. She's just a mare, just really improving all the time. She ran a really nice race from £5 wrong at Cheltenham last time behind Nurse Susan. I think this track's probably going to suit her better. She's got Ben Godfrey aboard claiming 3. This has been a really good race of claimers, actually. 6 of the last 10 have been ridden by apprentices. And the other horse I thought a massive price is Quinta de Mar, who I quite like. Basically ran in this, was one of the horses pulled up in this last season, but it doesn't really want soft ground. He's got Bo Morgan on claiming 5. That's a pretty good rider for my money. And he's on his second run after a wind off. He shaped quite well on his comeback. And he's got the cheap pieces back on he had for his last win. So I think at a massive price, Quinta de Mar. And Good Luck Charmer, a couple of decent each-way bets with Hills playing a good few places.
Yeah, let's go over to Johnny for some more information on that market and some market movers as well. Mott Hill, quite popular since Pricewise tipped him up. Johnny, what's the latest on this one? Yeah,
we've seen a fair spread of business as we're paying 6 places here, so there's plenty of each-way value out. The horse we can't give away here is Sonagino. On Monday, he was 4-1 joint favourites with Impostoir, but he's now out to 7-1 and really, really weak. The 2 horses that we're seeing money for are Mott Hill and a little bit of each way support for Wonderwall. I just wonder if the trainer switch might do the trick there.
Okay, interesting stuff indeed. Johnny, when you look at a race like the Lanzarote, it's a tough puzzle to solve. What are you immediately drawn to? What do you prioritise?
I suppose you look for. I kind of look for these races. Maybe a horse improving up the ranks. A horse with a bit of upside to him, but rather than a horse that's tried and tested in these kind of races. Like Impostoir to me has a great chance here. He's stepping up in trip from 2 mile, but he has won 2.5 in Ludlow, and he's been beaten in 2.5 Ludlow as well. So there is no guarantee he'll get the trip here, though, even though he is officially winner at 2.5. But there are different types of races. This is a more exacting test here. I do think that his form against Lucia when he possibly should have won that race. I think that kind of handicap hurdle form is really, really solid in the context of a race like this. I actually thought that when you go down into the outsiders here, I thought you'd struggle to come up with an outsider that had a reasonable chance myself. And look, maybe the main line is the chance. Sanagino has a lot of his form on heavy ground. King Alexander he's won a weak race there in Exeter. After that, I like Wonderwall. I know it's changed stable, but it hasn't been running well. It like up for parole. I couldn't fancy that. I thought Ante-post was most certainly the horse to beat, but even though he has the form at 2.5, he still has to prove he stays 2.5 in a proper race. He is stepping up 5 furlong. It does look like he'd stay the bulk of it now, but you'd often fall into that trap with Irish point-to-pointers too, to say, oh, he won a point-to-point 3 miles, but when it comes to they don't stay 3 miles at all because there are different types of races. But I just think his level of form is improving. He's only gone up £3 from the last day against Lucia. That was a deep race, I thought, much deeper race than this. And if it was, just say if it was a 2-2 race, I'd say he's a cracking bet at 7-2, but I'll chance him at that kind of price in the hope that he does get the trip. And around Kempton, Henderson, there is no better outfit than Nicky Henderson around here, so I think he's fairly solid.
I was going to say, in races like this, we're used to seeing Nicky Henderson excel. In the longer distance chases, he's actually got quite a poor record, so we'll mention that later on when we get to the classic chase. In post-to-out, how worried are you about his jumping? He absolutely belted those last 2 hurdles at Ascot last time.
He did, yeah. Look, I suppose when it comes to the business end of a race and they're going really fast, I suppose that's the time you can make mistakes. But look, there's no guarantee that he'd replicate that here at the same time. Maybe they'll get his jumping right. I mean, some horses jump messy one day, but at least the jockey knows that's in his locker. So he'd maybe ask him maybe sooner or whatever the jockeys do in horses. Look, I just think he's a great chance. I didn't think he was a bad price, even at 7-2, whatever price he is, yeah.
Yeah, I quite like Moth Hill yesterday. That was before Tom Siegel put him up and totally ruined the price for everyone. Robbie, it's interesting, isn't it? If you look at a race and you fancy a horse, I often find I get influenced by what other people think and what other tipsters put up. You're picking big prices in this race. Does it sort of ruin your confidence a little bit when someone like Johnny's going, I think the favourite's got a great chance?
Not really, because in any one race, anyone can get anything right or wrong, essentially. I mean, in a way, I kind of like it when people don't fancy my horse because I'm probably getting a bigger price. I mean, Chris Cook actually wrote quite a good column early in the week. He said, like, fellow punters are your enemy more than bookmakers, and I thought that's quite an interesting take, really. If everyone's steaming into one horse and you disagree with them, then you're obviously going to get a much better price. So that's sort of the way I try and look at it. But naturally, if your opinion aligns with someone's who you respect, then of course that's an endorsement. But I think it could be healthy to adopt the kind of opposite approach.
Yeah, and you're happy to spread your money around a bit more, picking horses at bigger prices, whereas Johnny, you just want the winner and that's it, don't you?
Yeah, my kind of thing is either have no bet or look for the winner. I'm not, look, I'd say, I wouldn't say I'm not price sensitive. Of course I am at times. Like, would I back Impose it at 7-4? Of course I wouldn't, you know what I mean? But there are times in much weaker races than this when I wouldn't be as price sensitive as a lot of people, insofar as I would back a horse at even money that was 5-2. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I do think that evens isn't the ceiling of, or isn't the basement price like that it probably should be. It depends on who's training it, who owns it, and who's riding and all that kind of stuff, and what kind of a race. But in these kind of races, you have to be price sensitive. Of course you do. I mean, would I back it at 5-2? I wouldn't. I mean, it's price fair. I think it's 7-2 is a fair price. No, I wouldn't. Would I lay it at 7-2? Not in a million years, anyway.
Okay, be interesting to see if any more money comes for Impose-Toi. On to Warwick now, and the 224 is a cracker of a novice chase. It's over 3 miles. It's a grade 2. It's a trusted trader Hampton Novices chase, and some horses who have been racing against each other in this. Grey Dawning and Apple Away, of course, faced each other at Haydock in a graduation chase earlier this season. Apple Away went on to win at Leicester, and Grey Dawning made a horrible mistake at Cheltenham last time and so nearly recovered behind Ginny's Destiny. And then you've got Broadway Boy, a real favourite of mine. I think he's run every month since October and he's just been improving. Handicap success last time back at Presbury Park. And then the Changing Man and Carbon King round out this field. Johnny, at William Hill, I'll go to you. How do you bet?
We're currently 2-1 on Grey Dawning, 9-4 Apple Away, and we're keen to get after Broadway Boy here. I think giving the weight away to two really smart horses, I think will be a fair task here. So we're keen to keep on side Grey Dawning and Apple Away and take on Broadway Boy.
Okay, and Johnny, you were saying beforehand this sort of race is really hard for you to sum up. We know that, I guess, with the form on offer. Apple away at Aintree last season as well, when Grey Dawning made that awful mistake and things didn't go right for him. And Broadway Boy's been knocking around in different company, so it's hard to assess.
Yeah, this is a bit like the Silviniaco Conti chase. I mean, you wouldn't be surprised which one of the four of them won. Look, Grey Dawning, he's course winner over hurdles. He has to prove he stays 3 miles here though at the same time. Apple away won that's Grand Sefton or whatever it is, the 3 mile race in Aintree, a Grade 1 race. Like it kind of didn't bomb out, I suppose, in Haydock, but it didn't run great. But did bounce back then in Leicester, but it beat horse of Nichols's. But it was only 2 horse races, saying, and one easy after, but the other thing kind of combusted, I'd say, at one stage in the race. I don't know. Look, Broadway Boy is going to be in front here. In Warwick, it's a big help. If you can jump from the front in Warwick, it's a big test to jumping and down the far side there. If you have a horse on the bunny jumping well, it can put the other ones behind under pressure. And for that reason, I wouldn't rule him out. I didn't really fancy him first, but if he gets on the bunny here, which I'd expect him to make the run in here, he's tended to do that in all his races. And if he can apply pressure to the ones behind, I wouldn't dismiss him. The change in man to me is quite short in so far as 11-2. I think he only has a chance. I'd be kind of half surprised if he won. I think one of the big three will win. I might just lean towards Apple away, but it wouldn't be a strong selection now at the same time.
Okay, on the bunny, I'm presuming that's greyhound references.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
we learned something new on the Morning Post.
Yeah, like in front or whatever you like to call it. Yeah, exactly. With nothing in front of you or whatever. Yeah,
the weights are what's going to be key here, isn't it, Robbie? Obviously, Apple away, the mare getting weight from Grey Dawning and Broadway Boy, the latter names carrying extra. I love the way this horse runs, but this is going to be his toughest task yet, I think.
Yeah, although, having said that, I thought he had a massive task on his hands at Cheltenham against proper seasoned handicappers, and he still won that quite nicely. I know he made a couple of errors, but I think he's just a really good horse. I think he surprised everyone this season. I mean, he was only rated in the 130s at the start of the season, but he's still young. He's only just turned 6. He's already achieved an awful lot. I'd like to think he could be good enough here to give the weight away. I've put him up for the National Hunt Chase, number no bet with Hills for a piece we did last week. I'm going to stay loyal to him. I'm obviously concerned about the weight, but like Johnny says, I mean, he could quite easily get a bit of an easy lead here, and I just think he's drifted now to a backable price because I'm pretty sure he was favourite when it was initially priced up yesterday. I think he's interesting, but yeah, it's between those 4, just about keeping loyalty of Broadway Boy.
Okay, more on those non-runner no-bet concessions with William Hill a little bit later on in the show, when we'll have a look at some hopeful Cheltenham Festival runners. Johnny, who do you think the money could be coming for here nearer the time? Grey Dawning, he seems like the sort of horse that people really take to. Is it because he's grey? Is it because he tends to be bold jumping? What do you think is going to happen to this market?
Look, it's interesting. What I think, my opinion, I might be as wrong as Malbell here, but Broadway Boy was incredibly strong the last day. Like there's no man could have said that was going to go off 11-8 in a race that looked as deep as Robbie, that handicap chase. And it's obviously a robot horse or them.
A robot horse? I've never heard one of those before.
What are you alluding
what do you call these? Those syndicate horses that put the money into the pools. What do you call those things?
You've lost us.
They put all these what you call these?
Should we move on?
Basically, these are the main guys that put the money into the pools for these races anyway. They tend to back the same horses all the time, and they back Broadway Boy in Cheltenham. No doubt about it, they did, because that weight of money comes from these syndicates or whatever you like to call them. And I could see Broadway Boy being strong again today, because I've noticed that over the years that they tend to come for, especially when they win, they'll come for him again today. And I could see him being favoured in the finish.
Yeah, I must admit I was shocked by that weight of support. He was about 7-2 in the morning.
He was like, when he was 7-2 maybe 2 days before, he could have been 5-11-4. Like no man in the world could have said that was going to be 11-8 in that race. And he did make a few mistakes, and he still won. I agree with Robbie. I think he has a great chance, and I just do feel that those guys, that they decide the market now. It's not just punters. These guys decide markets, and they like that horse, and I could see him coming from again.
Robot horses, there you go, from Johnny Dineen. Would you fancy any of these for Cheltenham if they won impressively?
If one of them won easy, yeah, definitely they could. If one of them happened to take this race asunder, you'd have to say they're up to RSA standard anyway, without a doubt. If it's a three-way finish and necks and heads, well, that's a different story. But if one of them went away here and won 8-10 lengths, you'd have to say that it would be up there with Factor Foil as a joint favourite, maybe for the Brown Advisory. I'd say, yeah.
It's a classy race, and we'll find out much more about it later on. Sticking with Warwick, we're going to go with the 3 o'clock, which is the feature, the Wigley Group Classic Handicap Chase Premier Handicap. Always a tough trial, this, often for the Grand National. Price-wise, we saw at the top of the show, big fan of Melina Girl. Rapper was the other selection he put up. We'll go over to Johnny Simpson at William Hill. Johnny, what's the market movement's been like for this? It's often a race that punters really like to get stuck into.
Absolutely. I mean, usually there's a fair spread of business when we're paying 5 places in a race such as this, but this is not the case. Melina Girl has been hammered. Went up 6-1 on Thursday when the market was turned around. It's just been one-way support since then. I think there's a couple of horses here at a nice price. Major Dundee has been lined up for this race. He was mentioned in one of the stable tours at the start of the season. This was a target. So I think he could go well at a nice price. And there's a little bit for Guatapin Cologne as well for JP.
Wonderful. 5 places there instead of 3 on the classic chase. Robbie, Tom Siegel is adamant that we wouldn't be talking about Broadway Boy as a Cheltenham Festival horse if Melina Girl would have stood up when she fell 3 out last time. Are you confident she would have won as well?
I don't know. It's a tough one. I see what Tom's saying, but I've just got a real soft spot for Broadway Boy, maybe slightly biasedly. But yeah, I mean, Melina Girl's interesting. She's got a little bit too short for my liking now. And Warwick is a slightly different track to Cheltenham, obviously. Yeah, I like Major Dundee. Like Johnny said, I think he has been laid out for this. I mean, Alan King said at the start of the season this was going to be a big target for him. King's won the race 3 times in the last 14 years, I think. Basically, I think you can draw a line for his last run at Chepstow behind Nassalam. Ground was just way too testing for him. I think he's fine on a bit of soft ground, but that was pretty desperate conditions. That form's obviously looking good now. Nassalam winning the Welsh National. A few others that have pulled up there have come out and run quite well since, to be fair. One of them was Sham Blue. He almost won at Ascot. And yeah, basically he's got a visor on. I think that's interesting. That could sort of sharpen him up, and they sort of want to get him into the Grand National, so he's going to have to start winning soon to be rated high enough to get into it. He's only rated 135. He's going to have no problems with staying at all as a Midlands National winner. So I think he's a decent each way bet with Hills paying 5 places. Does
headgear ever put you off? Because sometimes when a trainer reaches for something like a visor, I think, well, that's because they think that the horse isn't giving their all. And he is by Scorpion, who's a quirky sire.
He is slightly quirky. I sometimes think maybe they hold back to put the headgear on for a certain target, though, to extract that improvement for that big race rather than one earlier down the line. So, but yeah, I mean, there is obviously that natural concern. But I don't know, apparently, well, just reading King's quotes, he's saying he's been taken to it quite well at home. So I think he's worth chancing.
OK, Johnny, Melina Girl for Gavin Cromwell, who's been, of course, winning lots of races over this side of the Irish Sea over the last couple of weeks. Really good percentage. I think it's up to something like 26%. What is it about Gavin, do you think, that makes him such a good trainer? Yeah,
Gavin Cromwell, a great operator. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know what makes him such a good operator, but he really is. He really is taking the step up to being an elite trainer at this stage now, you know, and there's a lot of horses too, flatten jumps, and wins races in Ascot and wins races in Cheltenham, all them kind of places, so he can do it in both codes as well. I don't know, but his results are there for all to see, and he's very dangerous in the race. Melina Girl, I remember Melina Girl running in Ireland. You'd say that the chances of her carrying 12 stone in a race like this at some stage in her career would be absolutely, you couldn't price it. She has improved out of all recognition. Saying that, I don't fancy her here though. She's very small.
Okay.
She's 12 stone. I know the young fellas are claiming weight off her, Conor Stowe Walsh, but I still don't fancy. And she'll be ridden from off the pace here too. I don't like that in Warwick. There are tracks where you can do it, and there are tracks where I like to be ridden aggressively anyway, up in the van here. And jumping mistakes can be accentuated, I think, in a race like this. And you have 4 or 5 fences down the back in quick succession. You hit one and you're out of the race, I think, and you're trying to make up, playing catch up. And I don't really fancy her. I didn't fancy Gallia Delito either. I mean, I think that lost a poor race in Newbury the last day.
Is she going to stay this far, do we think, Gallia Delito?
Yeah, even if she does, Betty, I don't fancy her at the same time. I like, even the day she won in Market Race, and she was fairly laboured effort too. I thought it was anyway. I was giving that a chance. Guatapan Calange, it has course form. I think it was 4th the race last year, but it had won in Warwick as well, and it's a good safe conveyance jumping wise. I think it has a good each way chance at the very least, but I'd be surprised if Melina Girl wins this, to be honest. I wouldn't fancy her now, and if I was, I think I'd nearly give the front two. I'd be against the front two in the betting. After that, I suppose City Chief might have a chance, but he did run poorly in Cheltenham, and maybe Melina Girl would have won in Cheltenham the last day, but like, that's 3 out. That's a long way away at the same time from the line. It's hard to say for certain that she would have beaten Broadway Boy. You have to go get up to Broadway Boy and then go by him as well. So, look, I think a lot of horses fell at the third last in Cheltenham that looked like winners, but whether they'd have won or not is another thing. I just think this is a bridge too far for her here, and I'm going to chance Guatapan Calange.
Okay, interesting. Melina Girl's been absolutely steamrolled in the market, 100 to 30 on our graphic, as we've seen now with William Hill. Will further money come for her, or will people go with Johnny and Guatapan Calange or look elsewhere? Now, Sandown's loss is Warwick's gain, because the next race we're going to talk about is at the 3:35, and it is the Unibet Veterans Handicap Chase. It's the final. How much is that going to change the complexion of this race, the course switch from Sandown to Warwick, as Johnny's already referenced? Very different courses demanding different skills from the horses. What do you think, Johnny? Would you look at a race like that at Sandown and look at it again at Warwick and think, this is totally different, I need to review what I thought?
Yeah, without a doubt. I have a feeling Ramsey, no, I might be wrong about this, I have a feeling Ramsey the Tele wasn't in that race in Sandown.
Not sure. I think he might have been.
No, he was. Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh, was he? Right. Okay. So
sorry, mate.
Forget talking rubbish. Yeah.
I should just let you get away.
No. You're fine. You're fine. No. I don't mind being corrected. No. I didn't see him in that race. Look, this track will suit him. He's 12 years of age at the same time, you know. And I think when you get to, as Robbie said earlier about 10-year-olds, when you get into these age groups, like it's hard to be certain what they're going to do. I think 10, 11, and 12 years, you're like this kind of a race overly would really appeal to me as such. If I was like, you could make a case for any one of the first 5, 6 in the bet, and up down as far as Cepage even. Lord of Manila is a horse that runs consistently well in these races. Finishes placed and second, third, and that. Consistent sort was well beaten the last day, but didn't get a clear run at one stage in that race in Cheltenham behind Cepage. I would at a struggle go for that if I was forced to pick one in a race like this. But I think it's the race for small stakes, to be honest.
Okay, I don't think Ramsey Statai has always been favourite, has he, Johnny? And 5 places for William Hill rather than 4 for you in this.
Yeah, he was one of the first horses when the track switch. I actually thought they were going to run it at Kempton, so I wasn't as keen. But when they said, "Oh, it's Warwick," I remember when he won here last year, bold front running grey. I think he'll take the world of beating here, and whoever's leading him down the back on the second circuit will probably have a good chance. But there's been a fair spread of money here. There's nothing that's been overly popular, but Ramsey's to tie would be a strong selection for myself.
Yeah, of course, he comes here fresh after qualifying in the spring. He's had a wind up and he has that great course form that you mentioned. Lots in his favour. Right's come for a little bit of money. Robbie, I presume that's Tom Siegel's money speaking there. Who do you fancy?
My money's speaking towards Sam Brown. I put him up for the Sandown one. That was a bit annoying.
we had a big thing around this, didn't we?
I got a bit scared that he wasn't qualified, but he was qualified, thankfully. But we're here now. I don't think he's going to be too inconvenienced by the switch from Sandown to Warwick. I know earlier in his career, everyone was like, "Oh, he's a bit of a sort of mudlark," but he's actually some of his best form is actually on good to soft. Like he won that handicap Grand National Day in 2022 on good to soft by miles. I think he'll be fine on this, and all 3 of his chase wins are on left-handed tracks. So I think he's not going to have an issue. It's just if he gets in a decent rhythm, because he has fallen a couple of times in his last several starts. But I just think he's on a really good mark. I mean, he's £12 lower than when he ran in the Grand National in 2023. And thought there was a bit of encouragement the way he stayed on in his last start over 2 mile 4 at Cheltenham behind Cepage. He's not a 2 mile 4 horse. He's a 3 mile chaser on soft ground. And with the enhanced place terms, I'm sticking with Sam Brown.
Okay, it's over to Wetherby. We go now for the 110, sponsored by William Hill. This, the Towton Novices Chase, Grade 2. And Grade 1 form comes into this courtesy of Colonel Harry Johnny. What do you make of this contest?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a disappointing turnout. I mean, when Meeting the Waters was declared and then almost instantly ruled out as an honour, was a little bit disappointing. Colonel Harry's quite weak, actually. He's out to 11 to 10 from 4 to 5. There's been money in the last sort of 2 or 3 hours for Trelawney, Kim Bailey, but I just worry about the trainer form there. It's not a market we'll be taking much of a view in, but the money is for Trelawney in the last few hours.
Okay, tough contest this year. Kim Bailey, his yard are really struggling for winners at the moment. I actually put in the Saturday jury. I'll be watching Trelawney and also Chianti Classico, his runner at Kempton, to see how they run. I wouldn't be backing them, but I certainly think if they do run poorly, you can at least forgive them. Johnny, training form, how key is that in your decision making?
Yeah, because Bailey started well this season, and suddenly it's gone all pear-shaped now and can't.
I like those two as prospects. I think they could be sort of Ultima horses, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you can't trust them at the moment.
Kim Bailey is a good trainer, very good trainer. It's a fellow I don't mind backing, but you have to take into consideration stable form. When stables are cold, they clean you out, and when stables are hot, they're probably, you want to be with them. So I looked at this race originally. One favourite for the whole day that I didn't fancy was this one here, Colin Harry. I was going to oppose it. I was going to oppose it strongly too. And then I had a look at the others in the race, and I looked at the King of Ryehope in Foslas, and it is very hard to fancy on the back of its last run. I mean, it wouldn't even have finished, only there was 3 left. He even had looked round to see what's right behind him, and he said he had to be third. Trelawney, you're worried about stable form. It's not a great price now at 2 to 1. Rather than oppose Colin Harry, I am actually going to back Chasing Fire now. I do think Chasing Fire is a fair horse, and even though he's chasing his last he ran over a trip in up the north in Ayr, I think it was 2 miles, but definitely too short for it. Fell at the first in the entry in what was a fairish race, but he only got as far as the first. But he wasn't a bad hurdle horse. He ran into Supreme Novices and that, and I think Colin Harry, like that run, I know he's second in Grade 1, but it was a Grade 1 in name only, and the horse that won that of Gary Moore's Le Patron, that was an ordinary Grade 1 race, and I do think he's vulnerable, but I was going to lay him originally, but now I'm just going to abandon that and maybe just back Chasing Fire.
Okay, tough race to assess this, Robbie. King of Ryehope is a horse who I've liked, but as Johnny said, he was very, very disappointing last time. Maybe he can bounce back. How do you assess this?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, if he's coming here straight off his Shepstow run, then he's certainly not 8 to 1, is he? So if you can forgive that, then you're on probably a fair price. But yeah, I agree with Johnny. I mean, that Grade 1 Colonel Harry finished second in was just pretty poor, really, wasn't it? I think Trelawney's form at Cheltenham with Ginny's Destiny and Grey Dawning is probably slightly better form. So I went with him reluctantly. I won't be playing him because of the Kim Bailey doubt. You'd want to see a couple of his horses run a bit better beforehand. If they do earlier in the day, then actually I'm not even sure if he's got any runners before that. But I mean, he's an interesting horse going forward. I'd reluctantly go for him because I think Colonel Harry's Sandown form is probably overrated.
And if he does go ahead and win, then you can upgrade that performance probably quite significantly.
Big time, yeah. Then all of a sudden, let's see, he becomes a massive player for the Ultima, unless he goes up too high to get into that race. But I doubt he will. It's not really a strong Grade 2.
There we are then. We'll get the naps later on, but they're Saturday previews. We're going to head over to Ireland shortly. Good racing yesterday, of course, with Lawless of Nacehood won by reading Tommy wrong. Shock performance in that race. Quilixios, his odds shortened for the Arkle, and Tully Hill won as well. Supreme possibly on his agenda. Let's go over to DJ now. DJ, how are you? Can you hear us, DJ? You look well, but are you well? Okay, we will just chat amongst ourselves while we get DJ. Were you shocked by the performance of Reading Tommy wrong yesterday, Johnny? It was a strong staying effort. It wasn't the one that many envisaged beforehand.
Look, I'd have to say I was shocked. Yeah, I was. I was surprised at one. Of course, I was. I didn't really see what that was like. He won a maiden hurdle down in Cork, fell in against Liz Nagar Fortune. look, it was hard to see how he could win that race, to be honest. I suppose Mullins is dangerous in any race, but I did think that one of the big two would win it. And as regards going forward, I wouldn't have thought it was a Cheltenham winning.
You're not keen on Il Atlantique, are you?
Not after that, no. But I did have slight reservations about his bumpers, insofar as that he looked a winner twice in bumpers and managed to throw them chances away. And again yesterday, he looked a winner coming on the run in and managed to lose. So that's 3 times in a row now that I'd say he's been matched at big odds on and running and came out the wrong side. Like, he threw away a bumper against Stellar Story, where Stellar Story was pumping the head off. The jockey was pumping the head with 3 furlongs down. He was motionless and still managed to lose. So I'd say there is a slight hole in Il Atlantique. If it comes to a struggle, he doesn't look like one you want to be on anyway. And like, it's hard to see how you can win a race in Cheltenham without coming to some sort of a struggle.
Yeah, this novice hurdle division is just so interesting. Robbie, have you got a fancy for the Supreme at this stage?
Nah, not really.
It's tough, isn't it?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, but I actually, at the start of the season, we had to do a piece for another operator. I put up Ballyburn for the Supreme, but I think he's probably going to go for Ballymore, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, he looks superb at Leopardstown over Christmas. But I think it's a division that's really waiting to come to life.
Yeah, let's see what David Jennings thinks if he's finally with us. DJ, you there? How are you?
I'm here, loud and clear. We had a few sound issues sorted now, Maddie. How are you?
Yeah, very well. I'm trying my best this morning. What can you tell us about the Irish accent? What did you think of the action yesterday? Some informative racing.
Yeah, informative is one word for it, I suppose. Surprising would be another. I wasn't expecting Reading Tommy Wrong to win, but I have to give a shout out to our very own Irish handicapper in the Racing Post, Johnny Pearson. I did Willie Mullins' stable tour, back in early November, and he called me beforehand and said, ask him about Reading Tommy Wrong, and he kept at me and at me. He said, this is Willie Mullins' best novice hurdler, and to be honest, I had barely heard him at that stage. So somebody knew something about him. Johnny Pearson, fair play. I think Il Atlantique is the best horse in the race. He might just have a little bit of a soft centre. I think Johnny was alluding to it there when I couldn't really hear you. But you just worry about him maybe in the last 50 yards of the race. But I think he's got loads of ability. And when he does get one right at a herd, he's the light pick. Interesting move, I suppose, from William Hill point of view, run our money back. I thought Lecky Watson, if I was fancying to run a big race, ran a really big race. He's 12-1, not run our money back for the Albert Bartlett at the Cheltenham Festival. I just think that's a race that suits him. Only 2 hurdles in the final, 7 furlongs, and he's not a great jumper. He doesn't really do anything right. He's got loads of ability, and I say that track would be tailor-made for him. I thought 12-1 William Hill was upright about Lecky Watson for the Albert Bartlett.
Okay, you're breaking up a little bit on us, DJ, but we're going to persist. Good racing today at Fairyhouse. The feature is the Dan and Joe Moore Memorial Handicap Chase with a strong favourite in. Let's be clear about it. It's that man Gavin Cromwell again. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I'm surprised at how short Let's Be Clear About It is, because I think he's into about 15 to 8 or 7 to 4 now. I think that's quite skimpy, to be honest with you. You know, we thought at one stage he was a 3-miler. Now he's running over 2-mile 1 off a mark of 150 against kind of battle-hardened handicapper. So I thought he had plenty on his plate. I'm with Johnny here. I read his column in the Racing Post today, and I thought Whiskey Welt was very interesting. Doesn't help himself again at Hurlet last time, fell at a crucial stage in the race when he looked like he was coming over hurdles off a lenient mark. I thought he would have beaten Dino Blue at the Easter Festival here at Fairyhouse, and that's really strong form because Dino Blue is rated 19 higher than she was then. He's a Grade 1 winner. I think if Whiskey Well could get back to that sort of form. I did the preview yesterday. Spoke to Karen O'Brien. He's very happy. I said being her ultimate aim all season. So Whiskey Well for me at around about 8-1, 57 at Fairyhead.
Okay, any other fancies on the card, DJ? Or you're going to be keeping your powder dry for Sunday?
No, I have a few that I like. I thought in the 122, I thought Gordon Millish was worth another chance. Now, Gordon Millish ran an absolute shocker last time in Navan. In a handicap hurdle, staying handicap hurdle that he ought to be capable of being really competitive in. But he just never looked happy at any stage in the race. But if you go back to his form from Thames qualifier at Cheltenham in October, a Thames qualifier that worked out spectacularly well. Highland won it, Flight Deck was third. The 6th horse that day was We'll Have One, who both up in that handicap hurdle at Navan before Christmas. And the 7th horse was Gordon Millish, who I thought ran really well. This is a big drop in class for Gordon Millish from that and I think he's well handicapped. If you forget that run last time off the mark of 123, I thought Gore Pellish would be on in that 122 at Faircase.
Okay, and Sunday's sure to be very informative as well. Blood Destiny, possible Arkle hope, or is he going elsewhere? We're going to see him in the 105, and then at the 135 at Punchestown, this is Mystical Power. That incredibly bred horse is going to run in the Moscow Flyer, a race which has been a fantastic Cheltenham guide in recent seasons.
Yeah, I suppose on Blood Destiny, first of all, it's a case of last man standing really for Willie's Arkle hopes. Facile Vega obviously 30 his bib in the Racing Post Novice Chase at Leopardstown over Christmas, and Mr. Policeman looked like he needed about 22 miles rather than 2 miles at Naas on Friday. So Blood Destiny is the one that's left that could just be a little bit special. You'd have to love the way he attacked his fences at Naas. Just wanted a fence. Like, give me a fence, give me another one, and he was making lengths at his fences. This is going to be a test. Imagine it's a solid enough performer. It was rated pretty high over hurdles, and on RPRs his performance, even though he fell in at last time, was rated I think £5 higher than Blood Destiny chasing debut. So he has to be good to win it, but he's getting £12, and I think that's going to make all the difference. That in the Moscow Flyer, I don't know if Johnny spoke about this yet, but probably not as high a caliber a race as we've seen in other seasons. The likes of Duke Min and top class horses have won this. I'm not certain there's an absolute superstar in the race this year. At the prices, the one that I thought was way overpriced, the outsiders, the James Escape, who I actually thought ran quite well against Kingsfield and the Mirrors that Leopard made a mess of the lap. I thought if he jumped that a little bit better, he would have finished a good bit closer. Possibly best maiden hurdle in Ireland this season, one of them anyway, and I thought he ran well. So if you're getting 16 or 20 to 1 at James Escape in a pretty mediocre renewal of the market, I'd take that.
Okay, DJ, you sticking with us, or is that all from you today?
You tell me, Maddie. You're the conductor today. I can stay on if you want me to.
Do you know what? I am hearing nothing from my producers on this, so you can stick with us, DJ. I'll try and come to you if I can. It's more Cheltenham chat in the locker coming up. We're going to talk about William Hill's non-runner, no-bet concessions, what some of the market movers have been, and who our expert panel fancy, given those encouraging terms. We'll go back to you, Johnny Simpson, just for some thoughts. You've got a couple of horses who have been catching the eye of punters for Cheltenham.
Yeah, in the last sort of week or 2 weeks, we've seen a sort of fair spread of business. The turnover is picking up. But I've got 5 horses here who I think I've seen more bets for them than you would expect. The first one is Batman Girac in the Boodles. That is 8 from 12. The next one is The Changing Man for the Ultimate. There's been a few bits and pieces of that at double figure prices. Obviously, want to see a decent run today. Not necessarily maybe winning. But he's been popular for the Ultimate. Factor File for the Brown Advisory, 72 from 5. This is at one-way traffic for this horse. We've laid nothing else in the market by him. The Manila Indo for the cross country. Usually the customers have fallen over themselves for the Gordon Elliott horse in this race, but Delta Work and Galvin have been completely friendless, and it's just been loads of money for Manila Indo. And then the Triumph Hurdle Stormheart, who I thought was really, really impressive a couple of weeks ago. He's 5 from 6. So those 5, maybe for a small multi, they've been the most popular.
Okay, Johnny, if I had to give you a non-runner no bet on a horse for Cheltenham, who would it be?
I think I'd pick Petit Tonnerre for either, like if you back him down on no bet, you can back him before to back him in 2 races. I go Grand Annual and the Plate. It gives you 2, well, you obviously can run in both, so you get your money back for the other one. 2 miles is the Grand Annual, 2.5 the Plate. It looks like a horse that has been geared towards the Cheltenham Festival in a handicap. Has form at 2.5 and has some nice novice form now at 2 in races. Like he ran in the Grade 1 race actually in Sandown at 2 miles, and he looks like a horse that's just heading towards peak in March to me, and I'd say he's going to be a big runner when the time comes.
Okay, DJ, if you're still with us, I know you like to take advantage of non-runner no bet. Who catches your eye at this stage?
Yeah, it's probably an interesting time to have a look at it. The one that I'd be keen enough on now, he was disappointing at Cheltenham on New Year's Day, but Springwell Bay in the Coral Cup I thought could be interesting. They were talking about him as potentially a Stayers Hurdle long shot. it just off that big weight on that ground on New Year's Day, it didn't really suit him. But I think he has a touch of class, and I'd imagine it's probably the only racing group for now at Cheltenham. I'd say John Joe will have Terry right for that. So I think he's 14-1, non-runner, no bet for the Coral Cup. I think he's a good horse. I think come the day, if he gets the race in one piece, I think he'll be a single figure price. So Springwell Bay in the car for me.
Yeah, lots of love for John Joe O'Neill. He's having an excellent season, isn't he? And some of those handicappers sure to strike in the spring. Robbie, what about you?
I'm quite interested in Mascada for the Mares Chase. I know Dino Blue is a short price favourite, and rightly so after winning the Grade 1 Leopardstown impressively. But, I mean, Mascada is quite a big price for this, and ran okay behind El Fabiolo, I thought, last time. And she obviously gave Dino Blue £4 and a good beating in the Grand Annual last year. So I think she's a bit of a dark horse for that. And, I mean, there's obviously the chance that she stays over 2 miles. But as a non-runner, no bet proposition, I think Mascada is quite interesting for that Mares Chase. It's going to cut up, isn't it? So
it is. Speaking of Cheltenham, how would you like to win 2 tickets for the magnificent event in March? Find out more here. It's time to look ahead to Sunday now. The action doesn't stop this weekend, and it's to Scotland we go at Kelso. It's the 320. Lots of recent winning form in this race. Jetlegs won his last race. Special Rate notched up a huge sequence before being beaten last time out. Red Happy from the David Pipe Yard, many will remember him, is now with George Bewley and has been winning up and down the country. Let's go to Johnny first and get some betting moves.
Yeah, this market hasn't really taken shape just yet. We're 13-8 Jetlegs, and I think he'll take plenty of beating here. Still unexposed over this kind of trip. Mark 114. I think you've got a few horses here like Red Happy and Special Rate who are, I think they're beatable. Both 4-1 second in. Destiny is all 11-2. But Jetlegs would be a strong selection around the 13-8 mark.
Okay, some former very smart horses in here. Fleur, Ciel de Liège, horses that we would have been thinking about for Cheltenham festivals a couple of years ago. Johnny, who's your fancy?
Look, I think Red Happy, even though he's a 3-timer, isn't he? He's won the last 3 races. He's on an upward curve, and he's been winning like their weakish contests, and this isn't a great race either, to be fair, for a decent pot. So Jetlegs won a race there, and I thought the jockey was very good in it to get it to actually win. Special Rate won a load of races and then got beat. I don't really like those horses that when they do eventually that winning sequence finishes, it's very hard for them to get going again. So I'd be kind of half against that. Jetlegs jumped the last 3-4 fences, brilliant the last. Only for that wouldn't have won at all. And I thought Red Happy might make it a 4-timer. I think that has a good chance anyway. Yeah.
Okay, 4-1 could be a value price. Robbie, thoughts?
Yeah, see what Johnny's saying about Red Happy. He's been rated much higher in the past for David Pipe. He's had a mark in the 130s at one point. So, I mean, there's still scope. He's only 7 as well. It feels like he's been around for a long time. But I thought Jetlegs was the most interesting one. Bottom weight, lightly raced chaser. Only ran 3 times over fences and seems to be improving. So that kind of profile I'm always looking for in a race like this when a lot of them have had an awful lot of racing. And he's just the one horse who really could be a fair bit better than this mark, I'd say. So Jetlegs for me.
Okay, the Chairman's Cup Handicap Chase. DJ, what's your Kelso form like? Who are you fancying?
I don't know, actually. I don't think I've had a bet there in quite a while, but I'm a bit like Johnny with Jetlegs. I thought that day at Newcastle, I'd say if Lorcan Williams could have had the right back on Donny Boy again, I'd say he would have given anything, because it was probably just about jockey error. Should have won the whole way up the straight. Didn't get there, was beaten ahead, and I'd say Lorcan, who's a really good rider, came back and said, how on earth have I not won that race? So Jetlegs, I think, is one to take on. I like Destiny is all for Lucinda Russell and Patrick Wadge. Won his last 2 starts at Kelso. It was 2 from 3 at Kelso. I just like that Kelso form. Not badly handicapped on the best form. So yeah, a tentative vote for Destiny is all, but I'd certainly be taking on Jetlegs.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us this morning, DJ. Great to have you and your insight. Have a great day's racing, and we'll see you soon.
You too, Maddie. Great job.
Thanks very much to David Jennings there. Now we're going to look Ante-post, and the Great Yorkshire Handicap Chase is our next port of call at Doncaster on January 27. Some really exciting progressive young chasers in this, the likes of Victorino for Venetia Williams, Gavin Cromwell, it's that man again, Yeah Man, Famous Bridge for Nicky Richards, Forward Plan, Garlaw, Gitmaker, La Malmaison and Melina Girls in there as well. We'll see how she fares later on this afternoon, of course, in the Classic Chase. Johnny Simpson, looking ahead, this could be a real cracker.
Yeah, it's a market that went out earlier this week, and we're yet to see that much action on it. We were 10 the field. There's a couple in here I think that were worthy of mention. I keep backing Yeah Man, and I think this kind of track will certainly suit him. I've got my eye on Cooper's Cross, who won this last year. I think he's been waiting for better ground, so I'll be keeping an eye on the forecast come the end of the month. But yeah, it's 10 to on the field at the moment. So we're just happy to sort of just let the market guide us here.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in Yeah Man. Interesting in Big Read with Johnny Burke. He suggested he should have won on him and beat Victorino at Ascot last time. I think this horse is definitely going to be winning one of these decent handicaps. Maybe it'll be the Kim Muir. That's a race that Gavin Cromwell went very close in last year with Stumptown. Nevertheless, Yeah Man's definitely a horse to watch. I think he's well handicapped. Johnny, how do you assess this race? I think Kilbeg King's quite interesting as well. He ran quite an eye-catching race in the Quarto Star at Kempton.
Yeah, look, 10 to 1 the field, that kind of sums the race up, doesn't it? Yeah Man is the one I would have picked myself, like, knowing nothing now whether he's even going to run or not. Look, he's probably creeping up the weights. Twice he probably should have won. He fell one day and was second the other day. So you would say that there's one of these in him, definitely. He's capable of winning one of these races. Like whether would he even run in this, I don't know. But he's the one I'd be picking right now anyway if I had to pick one.
Okay, Robbie, the Ante-postman, where's he looking?
Yeah, I mean, I reckon probably like half of those won't run. To be honest, like it's about finding out who's going to run for a start if you're getting involved in an Ante-post punt. And I think we can probably assume Garlaw is going to run because he was going best when he fell in it at the last season. He's off the same mark. And I thought it was a pretty good run in the Coral Gold Cup last time. I mean, he was 7th, but he was giving weight away to horses like Mile of Mission and That's Right Gino, who are, Grand National potential sort of Gold Cup horses down the line. So I think he's probably still got one in him off the mark of 150. And yeah, I've not had enough time to go through each run and think, like, are they definitely going to run? But you wouldn't have thought that, for example, Lam Almason and Yeah Man have both run. They're both trained by Gavin Cromwell. And then a couple more like Kilbeg King. Is he really going to run? I'm not sure. But I would assume Garlaw is, and he could well go off quite a bit short on the day.
Okay, some potential value there from Robbie Wilders. We'll go on to our best bets of the weekend now then. Johnny, where are you going for your selection?
I'm going to go with Never a Dull Moment in the 307 in Fairy House today. Look, I think the step up and trip is what it needs. It's just getting the hang of things. It's not a bad hurdle horse, and it's getting the hang of things. It's fairly safe conveyance, jumping wise, which you need in Fairy House. It's not a particularly strong race either. It's like one of those rated novice chases, and he's receiving £7 from the top one. And I just think that this kind of a race is well within his compass, and I think he'll take a lot of beating.
Okay, 9-4 selection there on the graphic for Johnny Dineen. Johnny Simpson, you're going for the Galloping Grey in the Veterans Chase.
I am, yeah. I think Ramsey's Tail will take plenty of beating in there. Just to note that these are all boosted on the specials part of the William Hill site, so they're all boosted until they're off. But yeah, Ramsey's to take in the Veterans Chase.
Okay, I've gone for the informed rider, Joe Anderson. What an amazing recovery that was at Plumpton aboard Transmission. Him and Neil Mulholland team up again with Moth Hill in the Lanzarote at Kempton. This is a horse who I think has yet to show what he can truly do over hurdles, and this trip and track should suit him well. Robbie, where are you going? Yeah,
I was going for the last at Kempton 350, a rare edition. The price advertised is gone. He's been smashed up. He's a little bit short than I want now, but yeah, I just think he's well handicapped for 136. I mean, you go back to his novice form last season, he gave Rubo a really good beating at Kempton off level weights. And Iberico Lord was in behind that day as well. He ran quite well on his return at Doncaster last month. I think he's entitled to strip fit for that. Harry Cobden's on this time, same rating. We know he ran in Grade 1s as novice last season. And I think he can blow this opposition apart, to be honest.
Okay, you've all gone for some shorter prices than me. I'll certainly be hoping that we get some winners for you there. That's all we've got time for on today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope for everyone's sake that Dave Awesome will be back next week. We wish him all the best. Thank you to both Johnnies, Robbie and DJ, for his visit. Hope you enjoy the racing today and always gamble responsibly. We'll see you next time.